What's going on in America, and especially with the Trump or Trumpian charge, as we say?
I think we've got a fascist leader in the United States. At least 70% of the public who are not MAGA, 30% of the public will just believe anything that Donald Trump says.
What are the institutions of America doing, especially the courts? Because courts are always there to protect the weak.
Supreme Court, when things reach that level, they tend to go with him.
Hello and very warm welcome on my show on Sharp Edge. I'm Dr. Sohail Qureshi from London studios, Qs.news. And tonight on Sharp Edge, we are going to discuss America's global posture under Donald Trump, once presented as strength, now sends shockwaves around the world. What some critics call a Trump Doctrine, a style of rule that echoes the Caesar of old, asserting power unilaterally. It is unraveling before our eyes. I have no better person as a guest than Professor Gavin Evans, and I very warmly welcome Professor Gavin Evans. I call Gavin. Thank you very, very much for joining me.
Oh, very nice to see you again, Sohail.
What's going on in America, and especially with the Trump or Trumpian charge, as we say? As you know, there's a lot of things going on, not only domestically, but internationally. But let's focus on domestic. Trump's style of governance, and more like a Caesar-like governance. And then we'll go through further, and from domestic to the global reach of Trump or outreach.
I don't usually use the word fascist very easily. But I think that in every sense of the definition of the word fascist, Trump and his movement are fascist. Now, I'm not saying America's a fascist country, obviously it's not. But one doesn't have to have a country being fascist for the individual and the movement to be fascist. Long before Germany was fascist, Hitler was a fascist. So in a number of senses, I think Trump what he does is part of the definition of fascism. It's the populist leader who dominates his movement. Now, his movement on the one hand is MAGA in the broadest sense, but he's also got his paramilitary police, which is ICE. So that's part of what fascism does. Another sense is complete dominance of government, and he dominates the government through being able to control the House of Representatives, to control the Senate, and his people are in place in the judiciary. So each branch of government he controls. He also uses his control and enforces it, often illegally, over the state. The Department of Justice in particular, the military, and so on, which is another aspect of fascism. And then on top of that, he is using every power possible to dominate the media by getting the major companies, ABC, CBS, whose parent companies want to do mergers and acquisitions, and to get permission for them, they need the government to give the thumbs up. And so they're bowing to what he wants. The Washington Post, as well. His people are trying to get their hands on CNN. So in that sense, dominating the media. And then just finally, a hallmark of fascism is to say one thing which goes against exactly what people see, and to say you're not seeing that, you're seeing this. And I mean, we've seen this quite often with Trump, but with the shooting of Renee Good, everybody could see that she was peaceful, that she was not trying to run somebody over, and yet that is the message that's coming from them. So it's like 1984. It's going against what people can see, and that's also part of what fascism is. So I think I think we've got a fascist leader in the United States. Yes. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting analogy that you pointed out in a pre-World War II era of Hitler. So he has his own Goebbels and Goering and Himmler and Hess and all of that cabal, basically, in terms of media.
Well, Stephen Miller is his Goering.
Yeah, Stephen Miller is his Goering. And that's very interesting because just a few years ago, nobody could imagine the rhetoric, the statements from the President of the United States, as we see now from Trump. They look more like a gangster and a mafia-like.
They do,
rather than and it is.
And basically stealing money one way or another. I mean, showing absolute corruption in terms of getting his family to benefit from government deals in a blatant and open way.
And the cronies. So there was a very important meeting soon after he took oath, in which some mega rich people, including Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and Microsoft owner, and all of them were there in one room. And then in another meeting recently, he had pretty much all oil and gas. So definitely that kind of closeness with these mega billionaires, where people of the world are becoming poor and poor. It shows that there is something going on.
It's very similar to what happened in Nazi Germany. Once they won power, they got all the leaders of industry around them, including Volkswagen, and got them to bow the knee. And exactly the same things happened. But in the case of some of them, particularly Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, they have openly displayed views that are definitely fascist. I mean, Thiel doesn't believe in democracy. He promotes someone called Curtis Yarvin, who promotes race science. Elon Musk has gone kind of full Nazi with his Nazi salutes, what Grok is doing, and so on. So you've got people who are bowing the knee, and others who are going much further than that, who are cheerleaders.
I will say that probably it is a slightly different analogy that I'll present. I think it's the other way around. I think it's not this. Donald Trump is the epitome of the collective psyche of these people. Donald Trump is just a face and facade, because there's nothing there that these people's interests are that Donald Trump is doing against. Basically, he is actually extending what all of them want, collectively or individually. There's hardly any difference between what, for example, Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk in particular want and Donald Trump is not doing. So probably he's more subservient to them.
I'm not sure about that, because it's part of his character to want to dominate, to want to, I mean, he always talks about the art of the deal, but the sense that he wins the deal. I mean, it's a very fragile ego, but it needs to be constantly reinforced as the one who has the power. So I think there is real power because of the way he dominates the Senate and Congress.
Yeah, and then it kind of aggregates all of the like-minded people
towards him
and agglutinize, as we say. And that's very narcissistic, highly narcissistic personality, one of our very strong features of psychopathy. Callous, unemotional traits, and then they go very superficial charm, glib talker, impress people, and devoid of any empathy.
And a deep narcissism.
Yeah, that deep narcissism.
And absolutely no sense of conscience, even kind of a civil conscience.
Yeah, I think the conscience that generally people take for granted, that it is a universal phenomenon, every human being, and that is considered as one of the very famous forensic psychiatrists with extreme views about psychopathy in people of power said that interesting thing with these people is this, that they could conceal from the other human being that the blood in their veins is not the blood, it is something else. And that their inner makeup is different from the rest of the world conscience and morality that we take it for granted, it doesn't bother them at all. Imagine what an advantage it is when you are hiding from other people that actually you are totally different.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if he's hiding it, because it's right out there in the open. And that sense that he has, that he is a kind of the chosen one. I mean, when the bullet nicked his ear, and barely nicked it, he felt that he was chosen by God. And that sense of being the chosen one, I really think he does hold that within him, and that plays out in terms of the politics.
Very delusional thinking. But let's move on. I think you mentioned Rannie Nicole Good, and this young lady, mother of 3, who was mercilessly and brutally killed point blank just for trying to run away from a lawful protest and not even grazing the said ICE agent. That is an amazingly is a testimony to what these mega rhetorics Trump and his people have been actually portraying, and that actually crystallizes that how his agent, which is similar to Gestapo and SS, Nazis, that they enforce on the people. So I'm just going to play this cut 1 of Rannie Gold, and then you'll see that how mercilessly, unfortunately, she was killed. Cut 1, please.
Change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former fucking veteran. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the car.
As you have seen, this video clearly shows that basically she wasn't any direct threat to the officer, and even if she was mildly a threat, but then to kill somebody just a few inches away from her head on the face, not to stop her or just to kill her, that is unheard of in any country, especially in America.
Yeah, and I mean, that is horrific in itself. But what is equally disturbing in a way is the narrative that has emerged from, well, basically from the majority of the Republican Party and from the Trump administration, that she was trying to run over a person fulfilling their duties as a law officer, and that she was a kind of woke radical, that she was a campaigner, almost saying that she deserved to be killed, but also presenting a narrative that goes directly against what you can see with your own eyes. And I think that has not worked well for Trump's people, because the public, at least 70% of the public who are not MAGA, 30% of the public will just believe anything that Donald Trump says, but have seen this video and can see that there's something wrong there, that she shouldn't have been killed.
They can make their own judgment, and that is basically a typical definition of gaslighting.
Well, absolutely. You think your eyes are seeing that, but what your eyes are actually seeing is something else. Yeah.
To making people believe that what you are hearing or seeing and observing is not true, and impose, it's like a psychological warfare. And that is very similar to what, again, Hitlerian period shows us. But just extending your point that how the narrative, the head of ICE, the way she immediately started accusing Nicole Good, Rannie Nicole Good, and later Caroline Leavitt, just now recently in the White House press conference, the way she silenced a journalist asking the question about this killing by the ICE agent, and almost 32 people have been killed in the custody of ICE within the last 1 year. And the way the White House representative spoke, that shows that how deeply brainwashed these people are with this MAGA movement.
Well, either that or they know that they've got to be their master's voice. So, you know, they're propagandists, but they're propagandists for the master, for Trump, for the fascist leader. And, you know, I mean, it's what Goebbels did in Germany. They're putting forward a narrative, whether it's Kristi Noem or whether it's Caroline Levitt, they're putting forward a narrative that they must know is untrue. Yeah. But they know they're obliged to do that.
Yeah, I mean that's and then the avalanche of apologists on the social media, especially on X. I think what is happening is something bigger now in America. The psyche of America, once considered to be the beacon of hope and liberty and freedom and human rights for the rest of the world, is descended into chaos completely. And especially this, I don't even know whether it's far right. It is just a simply fascist ideas percolated into the very fabric of society. And not only that, with this MAGA movement and with Trump, the complete control of the institutions of America. And that is very concerning. But I have just one question here, and then we'll move on to the next topic, which is very important, which I'm sure that you will enlighten our audience. What are the institutions of America doing, especially the courts? Because courts are always there to protect the weak. And I have never seen something like this happening with so much of so gross human rights violations, in fact, killing. And there's nothing coming from the court. So I just would enlighten us that what's happening there.
I don't think it's as absolute as that, but I mean, you have, when things go all the way to the Supreme Court, you have a 6-3 conservative majority. Now, that conservative majority will occasionally go against Trump. And I think they might do that with respect to his power to declare tariffs. We'll see what the judgment is going to be there. But by and large, they're doing Trump's bidding. And with that 6-3 majority, he can usually be sure that what he wants will go through legally. Now, he is being blocked at lower levels in the court system. So it's not like the entire court system has become subservient to Trump. But the Supreme Court, when things reach that level, they tend to go with him. And I think that's part of the problem with the courts. I mean, there are other aspects of civil society which are still vigorously opposing him, and where I get hope from. I mean, one thing is that the Democratic Party, which I think is for a while was just absolutely, they lost the Senate, they lost the House, they lost the presidency, and for a year, many of them just wouldn't stand up. But now a new breed of Democrats are coming forward. Some of them, like Mohamed Mamdani, are on the left. Some of them, such as a couple of the people who won the governorships in other areas, are in the center. But they're younger, they're more vigorous, they're less subservient. They're more willing.
They have a spine to stand
They've got more spine, and I think. In that regard, also, somebody who's a more long-standing, an older Democrat, is Gavin Newsom in California, where he's had a very vigorous approach. Where on the one hand, he's got a podcast where he's happy to go and interview people of the kind of Steve Bannon type, but on the other hand, he's mocking Trump by doing Trump-type. Using Trump-type memes, using social media playfully to poke fun at Trump,
It's Trump in reverse, in other way.
Yeah, and it seems to be working very well.
Gaining momentum.
Yeah, right. And then another area where is that aspects of the media, and I'm particularly thinking of the New York Times, have been absolutely steadfast in taking on Trump head on, in every way, and not bowing the knee. Yeah. So it's not like.
And CNN to an extent.
Yeah, and CNN to an extent. Although we're going to see what's happened with CNN, who buys it.
I just bring our conversation to a slightly different subject, which is of course very concerning, and that is the capture and abduction of a sitting president of Venezuela, Maduro. He's not an angel. He may have a lot of skeletons, but the way this entire saga was played was absolutely shameful, not only for America and Venezuela, but for the entire world. And I would say the more Western world, which talks about the international law, human rights, respect for the law, and things like that.
Well, I mean, there are precedents in American history for doing that. I mean, the most recent was George H.W. Bush going into Panama, and doing the same thing. But Panama is a much smaller country, so going in to go and take Maduro, where the role of Venezuela in supplying drugs to the world and to the United States. Sure that drugs might come from there. There's not strong evidence, I don't think, we'll see what the courts say, of Maduro's direct involvement in that. But okay, perhaps he was involved in that. But it's cocaine, it's not fentanyl, which is the main thing they worried about. The reason that they went in was related to Trump's need and desire to kind of dominate real estate. In this case, it's oil. And they've been quite open about it. I mean, there's not been a pretense. In the past, they always used to say, well, we're trying to bring democracy. We're bringing democracy to Iraq. No, it's not about oil. We're bringing democracy to Iraq. That's why this time, it's about oil. And
that's right. And then you'll see cut 2 now, please. And in fact, within this, they will do a couple of videos in which, how Maduro was captured, but also there's another video going on in which a question is being asked from Trump, and then Lindsey Graham, who's there, and he tries to tell Trump or give a little bit of a suggestion that it's more about the human rights and drugs, but Trump just continues to say, no, it's all about oil. Cut 2, please.
Good night. Happy New Year.
Let's say something. We got that. This is a good thing, not a bad thing. President Biden put a $25 billion bounty on the guy's head. Why? Because he was a horrible criminal, murderer, poisoning our people. Every administration has been saying he's a threat to our country. He's a bad guy. This is the first guy that's actually done something about it.
As you see, this is another level of international gangsterism. It is, that has absolutely destroyed the world order. That means that has the precedence that anyone can go and capture the president or premier of any country. You gave the example of Panama in George W. Bush's time, and the general, I'm just forgetting his name.
Noriega.
General Noriega's capture. But that was after a mini war. It wasn't that like abduction.
No, it took a while.
It took a while. Nicaragua, a tiny country as it is, but they just stood by. But there was definitely an internal hand involved. And then, coupled with that, the new Nobel laureate, right, Maria
Machado,
Machado, and how it has revealed the the shamelessness of Nobel Prize nominations and winning, and how she shamelessly gave her Nobel Prize to Trump, saying that he deserves more. I'm not sure whether he deserves more or not, but she definitely does not deserve it.
Yeah, well, I'm not a fan of hers, and I didn't think she deserved to get the Nobel Peace Prize. She has been kind of sucking up to Donald Trump for a long time. I think that he was deeply upset that he didn't get the Nobel Prize, and that she didn't immediately sort of hand it to him. So belatedly, she's realized that his ego needs stroking, and so she gave him the Nobel Prize, which she can't really do. The Nobel,
it's not a personal gift.
It's not a personal gift that you can pass around the table.
But it's a mockery of the Nobel Prize and the entire decorum of everything.
Yeah. So I mean, I think actually the Trump people are right in saying that Rashada, that she wouldn't be able to govern, even though her party probably won the election. I mean, they were probably robbed of a victory. Yeah. But you need to control the whole state if you want to control oil. Yeah. And if you want a short-term fix, they've probably taken the approach that's best for them. I mean, I think it's completely wrong that they went in and extracted, kidnapped a leader, but I think that the Machado would not be able to run a government at the moment.
I don't think she could come back there, because now, as you might have seen, there's tens of thousands of people for Maduro that coming out there. Obviously, he also has a political base. And I think that very soon you will see that Venezuela descending into a civil war, because what it is that the managemental change. So the management is changed at the top level with the cahoots of the seniors, and that led to the arrest of Maduro. But the ground reality is totally different. It is again a far extended reach of Donald Trump, and which is similar, and actually something bigger is happening in the North Seas, basically, and that is Greenland. And it started with a very small idea that Trump coined some time ago about purchasing Greenland, then taking over, and then finally just occupying. And that is a very scary prospect for the Europe. And of course, that means dismantling of NATO altogether. Why do you think Trump and Trump's cohort feel that strong that they don't have to work with Denmark and Greenland to have their presence, but actually to occupy it?
I think that Trump's desire to have Greenland is very much his own thing. And the rest of MAGA and the rest of his government are going along with him because they've got to go along with Trump. It doesn't make sense in defense terms because they can put all the troops they want into Greenland, and that's not an issue. I think he wants to be the man who extends the property portfolio.
It's like a Louisiana purchase.
Like the Louisiana purchase, like the
Thomas Jefferson,
how much of Mexico they
or Alaska for that matter.
Or Alaska. Yeah. So and he wants to be seen as a person who made he got the biggest chunk of land, and Greenland's pretty big. So I think it doesn't boil down to much more than that. I mean, there's talk about oil, there's talk about defense. Yeah. I don't think that's at the essence of it. It
is his narcissism, and actually at the end, he's a property agent. You have to think about it. For him, everything is a property asset, whether it's renting a property or buying and selling, or in his case, maybe building it up and all that. And this is how he thinks, and that mindset.
And I mean, until fairly recently, I thought this would never happen. I still think it's unlikely, but I think that it's possible for a number of reasons. I mean, there are a lot of forces that will get in the way of it. Obviously, Greenland doesn't want it. Obviously, Denmark doesn't want it. Obviously, the rest of Europe don't want it, and they're going to go and park some people, representatives there. But that's not enough to stop it. I think that there are a number of Republicans, as well as all the Democrats, who are opposed to it, and might use legislation to block that.
Yeah.
But what does worry me is that if and when Trump or the Republicans lose the midterm elections, and particularly, I mean, I think it's highly likely that they will lose the House of Representatives.
Right, yeah.
But if they lose the Senate, which I think there's a less than 50% chance, but I think they could, it's possible, he'll be an absolute lame duck. And lame duck presidents, there's one area which they can assert themselves, and that's in terms of kind of foreign affairs. And Trump, with his psychology of being defeated, probably being impeached again, will want to hit out and will want to do something dramatic. Yeah. And seizing Denmark, it's not going to worry him at all. When he's thinking of his legacy, his name on everything, and now his name on Greenland, it's not going to bother him that he's going to destroy NATO. So it does worry me. I think that it's not impossible that he takes a military option. I don't think it'll happen in the next year, but after the midterms, I would be worried about it.
You will see in this cut 3 that how he ratcheting up his desire basically to take on Greenland, but also at the same time, NATO and European powers are also standing up. Just yesterday we heard that many troops from the various parts of Europe have actually landed in Greenland as a part of an exercise. But the undertone is there that in case there is any hostile takeover by the American army, so at least there are boots on the ground. Cut 3, please.
I'm not talking about money for Greenland yet. I might talk about that. But right now, we are going to do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not, because if we don't do it, Russia or China will take over Greenland, and we're not going to have Russia or China as a neighbor. I would like to make a deal, the easy way, but if we don't do it the easy way, we're going to do it the hard way.
As you've seen how Trump ratchets up and how the European Union has finally standing up to, and I think it is going to be an amazing tug of war between the America, European Union and NATO, and I think European Union and NATO in particular, they should show some kind of strength within them. Otherwise, Europe is doomed forever.
And it's going to be particularly difficult for Keir Starmer because what is at least perceived to be his biggest success has been in forein policy
and his friendship
with Trump. And everybody says, yeah, he's done good there. Now that choice between being on Trump's side and actively opposing what he's doing or what he wants to do in Greenland, it's going to be tricky for Keir Starmer.
I don't think he has a choice to secede from Europe and follow the bandwagon with America.
No, I don't think he can do that.
I don't think he can do that. But obviously, what Trump, I'm just thinking that the program is going more like anti-Trump, but it's not. We're just trying to analyze the different aspects of his governance and his presidency and what legacy he would leave. Be a self-proclaimed Caesar or king of the world now, and unfortunately without any resistance from the other multipolar world. Tacitly, but yes, not openly. And that actually encourages him to carry on until this moment of Iran conflict, which is very tragic. First of all, condolences to the innocent civilians who were killed in Iran and hundreds of law enforcement, police officers and others who were killed in this massacre. there are huge amount of videos on both for and against the Iranian government. But analyzing them, one can see that there was a legitimate protest from starting slowly, gradually on 5th, 6th, 7th, and even on 8th of January, and then all of a sudden violence erupted, and mosques going ablaze, ambulances ablaze, many health professionals, what I hear, 1 or 2 nurses were set on fire, masked men with very sophisticated weaponry, and it is alleged that probably thousands of people got killed. We don't really know whether it was this anarchist or the law enforcement, but it is very tragic. But I'm just going to do a cut 4, and you can see that how this protest erupted, and then we will talk about it. That what is the role of Iran and Israel and the European powers.
موتوراشون بگار است دارم میگیرم
ماشین بسیجی ها آتیش زدن این ظرفا یا بارمخصوصا به غذا
دارم میگیرم
دی ماه شد یک روز تاریخی مثل 22 بهمن. یعنی 22 دی ماه رو ملت ایران ساخت، یک افتخار دیگر بر افتخارات خود افزود. ملت ایران در تهران با چند میلیون جمعیت در شهرهای مختلف با جمعیت‌های انبوه و فراوان توانستند به دهان پرگوی مدعیان مشت محکمی بزنند.
As you've seen in the initial segment of this short video that we have prepared, that there was a protest for the right reasons. Iranians are under 47 years of draconian sanctions, which could have wilted the will of any nation or any government in front of the demands of America and the West. It didn't. They have a genuine concerns about the human rights, women liberation, and more importantly, economic. But then, as you could see, that where did this violence come? Where did this hundreds of videos are appearing with people with weapons and shooting, and a lot of people actually captured and confessing?
Well, I think most of the violence has come from the state, and I think, I mean, if the official figures are 2,500 killed, I think we can assume that there were many more than that, and I mean, I would be very sure that most of those would have been killed by the state, one or another branch of the state. So I think it's been the massacre that's taken place has been a decision taken right at the top that we cannot allow this to go any further, and we'll do what's necessary. And doing what's necessary is creating a sufficient terror for people to stop protesting, which seems to have happened. So in that sense, in the most brutal way, it has been temporarily successful. However, I don't think that Iran is in a very strong position. That the regime, the government, they've lost a lot of power. I mean, the economy is in an absolute mess. Partly because of sanctions, partly because of mismanagement. So internally, things have decayed very significantly. The inflation rate is horrendous and growing. People can't buy things anymore. So at that level, I think that a lot of the protest was driven by that.
Very genuine concerns.
General concerns about the country,
yes.
but the lack of democracy as well. But about basic things, food in particular. So, but they've also lost their proxies. Hezbollah has been severely damaged.
Hamas, Syria,
and Syria is no longer under
and Houthis to an extent.
And the Houthis to an extent. So they've lost a lot of power in the region.
In Iraq, the Iraqis are not supporting them as much as one would have thought.
Yeah, the Iraqis have taken a slightly hands-off approach. I don't think. I mean, we never know, but I don't think it looks like the regime there is about to fall. They've probably got enough strength to hold on, at least for a while longer. And I'm not sure what would replace it. I think it's rather unfortunate that the figurehead of the opposition is the son of the old Shah, who was a brute himself and became worse and worse before he was overthrown at the end of the 1970s. So to have him as your figurehead is
being orchestrated from America.
It's not a good look. Yeah. We will see what happens there.
I don't think that people, what I have seen and observed, that people in Iran even know him or like him.
Yeah.
It is just the social media and the American establishment portraying him as a messiah, and that is not a very good thing for the Iranian democracy to, after 47 years, plunging them back into the kingdom and the kingly state. And everybody knows Shah of Iran at the time, Raza Shah Pahlavi, and his infamous police force called Savak. How they killed tens of thousands of people. I recently tweeted on the prince, and I said, well, if you are that concerned about Iranians, why don't you give half of your billions to Iranians who are miserably living as refugees and asylum seekers in America and the West, so the people can see that you are putting your money where your mouth is. And he could send his children to go and take part in this revolution, because it's very easy to stay in the comfort of your palaces in the West and then talk about the revolution. I think Iranians are in a very difficult place now as an extremely civilized nation with a thousands of years old civilization, historically great friends of Jews, with Cyrus the Great emancipating them through the Babylonian Nebuchadnezzar. And now they find themselves between the hard rock and the depth of the sea, the typical Greek tragic dilemma. Because on one hand, they have seen whatever oppressive and tyrannical current system is by the mullahs. But on the other hand, they have also seen the results of Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, and of lately Syria, by the so-called the same kind of dreams of liberation by the America and the West. And that is the question that Iranians need to ask themselves, and the world need to ask what is going to happen to Iran.
Yeah, and I think there's a bit more caution now. I mean, at one stage, Trump was saying, implying that he was going to kind of bomb them back to the Stone Age kind of thing. But then all of the countries, including Saudi Arabia, apparently including Israel, said, we don't want chaos. We don't want chaos there. And I think in the back of their heads, they think we've got a weakened Iranian government that no longer has its proxies. It's less of a danger,
I would say,
but they don't want to have the chaos of the collapse of a government.
I would beg to differ here. I think this is the final nail.
You think so?
In the American hegemony on that, because I think this episode has emboldened the current Iranian government and the power of theocracy. Because I'm just going to play cut 5 for you to see the pro-government protests. Cut 5, please.
ایران من از فراز آسمان تهران امروز دوشنبه 22 دی ماه 1404 ساعت 15:10 برای شما گزارش میکنم. این تصویر حضور مردم تهران است، نمادی از اتحاد مقدس ایرانی ها مقابل سرکردگان تروریست های وحشی مسلح یعنی آمریکا و رژیم صهیونیستی. امروز مردم تهران در کنار همه مردم ایران یک صدا برخورد قاطع با تروریست های مسلح و عناصر وابسته به آنها را فریاد میزنند. اینجا میدان انقلاب تهران، خیابان انقلاب به سمت چهارراه ولیعصر.
As you have seen, the huge number of Iranians pro-government, some estimates millions, which was well covered by Al Jazeera and many other international global TV channels. According to one of the political commentator from Iran, Professor Marandi, there were about 2.3 million in total across the country who stood up for the pro-government. And I think that America has made a very wrong choice by bringing the prince to become the new opposition leader, and that has actually made people go more towards the government. I think also that what really saved Iran is not the logic and support of the people, but the heavy arsenal it has in terms of the missiles and its military power, which can cause havoc to the region and especially to Israel, as we have seen the last 12 or 13 days of war. And that is very concerning if the peace is brought not by the logic and humanity, but only by who has a bigger guns and who can damage you more. And that is a very wrong narrative, because it definitely has emboldened Iran, because yes, they can come and destroy Iran, but there will be a heavy cost to the regional allies, and even they can wipe Iran, maybe Iran can wipe Israel too, because that is what is coming up, and that's not good for the world peace.
No, I mean, I don't think that Iran's military arsenal can really compare with Israel's. So I think if it comes to a war, Iran would lose that war, and I think they're aware of that. It's why there was a limit after the bombing of its nuclear sites. Its response was tepid. I think that you're right, though, that they are going to be able to hold on for a while longer. I don't think that we're going to see the imminent collapse of the Iranian government. But I do think that the collapse of its economy means that unless they can turn that around, and there's no sign of them being able to do that, that kind of collapse is going to happen because people have to eat. And if they can't, if they can't eat,
don't have it.
There's less. When you get thousands of pro-government demonstrators turning out, I sometimes wonder, whether they've been ordered to be there, whether it's a little bit North Korean, whether maybe many of them might be genuine, but I'm not sure about that.
I think people in the West in particular, they don't understand the phenomenon of Iran, Muslims, and the Shiite Muslims. And that is, I've heard it many times. They don't understand the allegiance to a faith, especially the faith of Shias, which is enshrined not only in one God, But the amazing sacrifice the grandson of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, gave on the 10th of Karbala, where he stood against the tyrant ruler at the time with his 72 followers, including his family, and everybody was massacred or martyred, but he did not bow down. That event every year is actually repeated in various forms of Remembrance Day. And that enshrinement of that ideology, that you cannot take away. Because for them, the actual life starts after martyrdom. And that is the force that has been there, and for we like it or not, that is there. The other thing is this, that Israel definitely has far more superior power, but that far more superior power is nothing if America and West had not helped. If one-to-one, Israel and Iran, Israel has no chance because it's such a tiny place, as we have seen in the last war of 11, 12 days, where the ceasefire came not because of America or anyone, because on Israel's request, because imagine, it could have been decimated, and they cannot afford it. So putting that aside, Israel and Iran, there's no reason that they cannot be together if the Palestinian issue is solved. What is the issue between Iran, Shia, and Palestine, Sunni Muslim, and you know the animosity between the two. And I suppose that this is the time that both powers, America and Israel supported by America, they have recalibrated their thinking and strategic analysis. And that probably will bring the watershed of new ideas. I think that this is a very important moment, and we are very lucky as a world that this did not escalate. It might come back again, but it has told everybody to reconsider their options, because only one thing stopped this war, that the catastrophic events that could lead to the region, which is a good thing. The other thing I would say is that it's very good for the Iranian society. I feel the democratic powers internally will be much more strong. The current government will rethink its positioning, maybe a better governance and more freedom for the brave Iranian people, which they deserve. But it has to come organic and internally, not to become a Libya or Iraq where
it's imposed from above.
And imposed from outside. And the people were saying, wow, what a great thing. But look, what happened to Iraq and Libya, two most prosperous Arab countries in the world. And now, and the worst is for the Europe. You know, there are already millions of refugees from these areas, which were unheard of 20 years ago. And this war, which that is it. So I'll give you a final thought on these with my very hopeful narrative that whatever conflict it was, and again, condolences to thousands of people who got killed, and full support to the Iranian rightful protest. I feel that this is an important moment that will bring more peace, harmony, and democracy in Iran.
Well, I hope you're right. I think there are a number of forces working against that. I mean, if we take our shift away from Iran and towards Israel at the moment, and of course the two have a kind of symbiotic relationship to each other, we see more and more seizure of land in the West Bank. Yeah. Now, the West Bank, if the two-state solution is to be viable, it's going to be in the West Bank, but half of the West Bank is controlled by Israel. Are you going to move out 750,000 settlers to create a Palestinian homeland? And if you don't, it's not viable. So I think the lack of a settlement in Israel means that all sorts of other things can't happen.
The key is, I'll say, America.
And America, and if Trump is not going to withdraw because of his base. I mean, I don't think Trump really has any real fundamental beliefs other than in himself. But he's not going to withdraw his support from Israel. And the mainstream of the Democratic Party are unlikely to do that either. partly because of the power of groups like APAC.
Yeah.
And
something deeper, the Bible Belt.
The Bible Belt and Christian Zionism is very powerful.
Zionism. And who knows that behind that there are many powerful interests. Well, we leave it there, but thank you very, very much for your valuable time and very insightful analysis. And I'm glad that we were able to discuss several topics, although distinct, separate, but kind of entwined to one another. And finally, it is the unraveling the Trump doctrine of taking decisions, taking countries, resources, or attacking only because you have bigger guns, not because of logic, not because of wisdom, but only to satisfy his own probably narcissistic trait, or to be subservient to the mega rich interests in the world. Audience and viewers, I hope that you enjoyed this very thorough marathon kind of program today. In last few weeks, a lot of things have happened in the world which is going to change the psyche and understanding of the world about the global powers, especially about the Trump and his doctrine of taking anything and everything by force, which has caused ripple domestically and in the various parts of the world. It is a hope that people can learn from here, including Trump, and bring the peace and harmony and progress to everybody, whether it is in Iran, Israel, Europe, Greenland, and America, and people of all walks of life, from Jews, Muslim, Christian, Hindu, Sikhs, and of no faith, can live peacefully and harmoniously. And thank you very much once again, and we wish you all the best and hope to see you soon.